important fact, or I guess opinion, even though it should be done, about slopes is to make sure that you use them correctly when they are upside down or on the ceiling. If you take a look at the original Super Metroid, they even use these square ones which are flipped. Make sure you flip them if you're using them, or use vertical flip if you're going to use them upside down, because the spot that's a little thicker, if you look at the squares compared to the other side, that's the side that's going to be solid. The other side you'll be able to move straight through like it was an air block. But now back to my point. They use them upside down. Now originally you might think, well, all I'll need is the triangle, that way Samus will be able to hit that block not like a solid, she'll hit it just like it was a triangle and move along, but she's not walking upside down, so it doesn't matter to have that particular piece. That's true, but it's also very good hacking practice to make sure you do use these upside down slopes. And the reason for that is if Samus is to jump and hits this triangle, she'll be pushed downwards. But if she comes into contact with a slope right here that wasn't a slope, and rather just a solid block, her vertical or horizontal speed will be stopped almost completely, and she'll fall. Now, that's not really that big of a deal, but it could be if you're trying to use a glitch such as the mock ball, or just trying to jump over like a set of spikes or something like that. Rather, if you have that BTS block there, Samus will hit this triangle, move down, and still continue her vertical speed, moving in that direction. Let's see if there's anything else for BTS slopes. These ones right here are used if you have, let's see, if we have a tile that would work for that. Let's say you had these two tiles, and you want for some reason Samus to fall in between those two tiles. Well, if you make them both solid, you can do that, or air, sorry. If you make them both an air tile and you put solid blocks on the side, you'll be able to drop through inside of there. But you could also take this BTS, put it here, and then horizontally flip it, put it here, and now you have a one square tunnel that she could fall through in ball or standing, and this way there's no movement and it's just a nice little tunnel, I guess, to kind of explain it. These particular tiles aren't a very good one to show, but there's tiles that look like little tunnels later on in the Brinstar, and I think even in Norfair. So those are what those BTS are really used for. Now, one quick thing before I forget. These tiles down here are your, I guess, special tiles, but they're still BTS tiles. If you want a tile that can be shot with a super missile, you have to first select if you want it to be a respawning tile. Respawning meaning after you shoot something, it'll come back eventually. If you don't want it respawning, just uncheck it. If you want it respawning, check it. Now, to create a certain block to be a super missile block that you have to shoot with a super missile, or power bomb, or speed block, or grapple block that fall apart, you simply hold, left click, and drag, just like we did with this up here, over your block and let go. And then you'll get this red outline if it's non-responding, and if it is responding, then you get that yellow with a red. So that way you can tell if they're going to respawn or not. Now, let's go over the properties of different tiles. Oops. Oh. Let's go all the way up to the top and start from there. Air X-ray. That is simply tile that is invisible, and if you use the X-ray visor on it, it'll show up invisible, so you can tell that it's not a real solid object. You can move through that. A slope tile is any tile that has a green outline to it would be considered a slope tile. So whenever you're using slopes, it automatically changes whenever you drag one of these green boxes onto something. It automatically changes that particular tile to a slope, so you really don't have to worry about that. Air full X-ray. That is a tile that you could use that is invisible or is not solid, so Samus can move through it. But if you are using a X-ray visor on those particular tiles, they'll still appear to be solid even though they're not. I believe that's used a lot in Meridia. Treadmill tiles are used with these particular tiles up top here to create the treadmill feel that is generated in the wrecked ship whenever you're on the moving platforms. One thing to note about those is they work wherever Samus's feet are. In other words, you want to place these tiles, so you place them here. If Samus's feet are touching these tiles, she'll be propelled in that direction. If she jumps in, say, let's put them right here. If she jumps and her head touches this tile, she won't be moved at all. Same thing with her body. It's only if her feet are touching these particular tiles. The next one, shootable air. That works like a shot block, I believe, but is invisible that you can move through. The point of having that, I'm not really sure. I've never used them before, but it would be like an air tile that can be shot and made disappear. Horizontal tiles take the property of the tile, not the look or graphic, but rather just the property of the tile that is directly to the left or to the right, so many spaces, depending on what BTS value you use up here. They're useful in a lot of different situations because they can create a bomb block, or that can just be bombed once and destroy a large square, or used for switches that you can shoot that will open a door or gate elsewhere. Well, I think I'll talk about that one a little bit later, also in more depth. Air tiles with question, I'm not really sure also, and obviously Jathis doesn't know either. At least he didn't put it in here. As of right now, I've used them a couple of times, and they just work just like air. Bombable air is the same thing as shootable air, except you can bomb it. A solid block is a solid block. It's solid. You can step on it, run into it, and you won't be able to move through it. A door tile is a tile that when touched, Samus will transverse into another room depending on which properties it has. You can tell if a tile is a door tile based on its bluish outline, as you see down there. A spike block is a block that when Samus touches, she'll be harmed. They can also depend on the BTS value you give them by these numbers up here. Depends on how strong or how weak they are. I haven't messed with them too much, but if you play with it a little bit, you can find spikes that are stronger or weaker depending on what level Samus is at. Maybe she only has the power suit, so you won't want super strong spikes, or maybe she has the gravity suit, so you want stronger ones. A crumble block is a block whenever Samus comes into contact to will fall from underneath her, and she'll fall through that particular area or floor. Shot block is a block when shot that will disappear. It's used all the time in the Metroid original. Vertical is the same thing as horizontal blocks, except it takes the values of blocks directly above or below, or maybe more spaces or less, depending on what the BTS value is. A grapple block is a block that would be able to be grappled with Samus's grapple beam. A bomb block is the same thing as like a shot block, except used with bombs. You hit it with a bomb, and then it will blow up. Now, one thing that's a very common question, especially with newer users, is how to make a bomb block not reappear, respawn, or a shot block. That is used by your BTS values up here. Jathis luckily has given us in parentheses what each BTS value does so far down, and is very helpful in case you forget. Now obviously if we have this as a bomb block down here and we don't want it to respawn, we need to find a 1 by 1 that doesn't respawn. In other words, 4. 1 by 1, no respawn. Select that, click on the Metroid, hold your left click, and let go on your particular block. You should have a 0-4 over it, and it should become a red outline. Now that block will not respawn when hit with a bomb. You can use that for air blocks, or I guess even your air shootable and air bombable, for whatever reason you'd want to use those. Now another